In 1969, Ford introduced the Mach 1, a successor to the Mustang, and they said it was a performance-orientated options package. And now, some 50 years later, they've introduced this, the 2021 Mustang Mach 1. And not like Mach 1 Cortina, Mach 1 as in speed of sound. So here I find myself behind the wheel of an already sold Mustang Mach 1. This, of course, is one of 90 units, and it certainly does feel special. Where the Mustang GT is a leery, loose machine, this one feels like a tightened up version of that car. Well, let me explain. Ford have done a whole bunch of small changes on this car, and some would say that only 7 kilowatts extra is a little bit too small, but that's not the point of this car. The point of this car is that they've taken a whole bunch of tiny details and massaged those details to make this, according to Ford, the ultimate track Mustang. It certainly does feel like the ultimate, but on these wet Cape Town roads over here, I'm not about to push any of those ultimate limits. The engine remains largely the same, although they have changed the throttle bodies to slightly larger units. Torque remains the same as well. But when it comes to suspension, they've changed the entire rear subframe to the GT 500 model, made a whole bunch of tweaks to the suspension, which makes this car feel very, very sharp. And I get the sense that there's a lot of grip under these tires. As far as the drivetrain goes, you've got the Ford LSD at the back and also the 10-speed gearbox here, which has been slightly tweaked. Fun fact is that the top speed on this car at 249 kilometers an hour is actually quite a bit slower than the manual version. The manual accelerates to 100 in 4.8 seconds with the auto 4.4 seconds. Personally, I would love to be one of those 15 owners to get the manual version because this is such a rare car. The 10-speed gearbox was never really my favorite gearbox on any car, and although I think it suits the Raptor perfectly, I'm not much of a fan of it when it comes to the Mustang. The brakes on here have also been upgraded. This has 6-spot Brembos up front, and I can definitely feel it when prodding on the brake pedal. The brakes have massive, massive stopping power, and Ford have even quoted that stopping power in the brochure, which means I think they work. Ford certainly have listened to their customers when it comes to this car, because these days when sneaking into the apartment complex, you don't want to be waking the neighbors up or getting those babies crying. This one has an exhaust valve which, depending on which mode you're in, allows you to have a relatively whisper-quiet V8 rumble versus the manic screams when you head all the way to that 7,500 RPM red line. Even though the suspension on this car is heavily upgraded, the suppleness of the Mustang is still retained, and that's what makes this car such a bestseller, is that you can drive it to work. Unlike certain other sports cars that are only track focused, the Mustang does allow for the drive to the track as well. Where most manufacturers have sticker jobs and highlights to try and make the car seem special, this one actually has under the skin changes. Yes, I would have hoped for a little bit of extra power, but I think 338 kilowatts is over enough. For the price, I think that's a good deal. And just like many other Ford products, also offers a lot of value. For the lucky 90, they're probably going to be holding on to them very tightly. But for the rest of us, maybe having a look at those classified ads every couple of months might be a good idea, and you could snap yourself up another piece of Ford history.